Welcome back, Exes and Tea podcast fans. Hey guys, really excited to be back with you guys today. And we have a video one for you today, which we absolutely love. I'm so excited. Before we get started with things, I have to first and foremost just say thank you so much to everybody for your support, for being a part of the community, for spreading the message, and just honestly being the most amazing people that I know. And we have a fantastic episode brought to you by the Exes and Tea podcast. We're going to talk about Amway today. And I'm really excited because we actually have a few people that we will. But with every Amway episode comes the fun disclaimers that lets us know that we're not going to get sued and lets them know we don't want to get sued. So we will be talking about Amway, Worldwide, LTD, and the various different lines of affiliation. So just know that we're not here to defame anybody. We're here to share stories that are our personal opinions based on personal experiences. If you're over the age of 18 and you want to join one of the different lines of affiliation, you want to join Amway, you want to join any other MLM, by all means, go for it. I would just say listen to these stories because I'm telling you right now, you're going to want to know much more than what you're going to be told, but it's up to you. If you're an adult, if you're a legally consenting 18 plus adult, by all means, join whatever you want to. But with that, you guys, I'm really excited to bring back with us. We've got everybody who's here today has been on before. I'd love to reintroduce. We have Meggan, whichever side she's on, Meggan. She was in LTD. Hello, Meggan.
Hey, Danny. How's it going?
Good. We have Steven. Steven was also in LTD. It's been a while. Welcome back, Steven.
Good to be back.
And we have Miss Hope. Everybody here probably knows who Hope is. She was our very first guest. She's Canadian. She was in Worldwide. Welcome back, Hope.
Hello, hello.
I am so excited because I forgot to say this. I should have said it before, but we have Meggan. You guys, Meggan has started her own podcast, the MLM Recovery Room, and we will definitely be posting where that comes from. But also a major congratulations to Meggan, who was just recently married. Congratulations, Meggan.
Thank you. We're 1 month in, and I love him so much.
I'm so excited for that because, your story was so unique that you and your husband were part of Amway and LTD, but you guys met outside of the business. Have you guys been able to, I guess, bond even more because you guys both have these similar experiences?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we've kind of decompressed from it at the same time too, and helped each other through that. And he's a major reason that I started a podcast, that I am even willing to share my story, because I didn't want to be, I was a little bit afraid at first, as we all are. But yeah, he was in for 10 years. I was in for 14, and we were on the same team, and we walked right past each other a lot. We were in the same little conferences, and we had never met until afterward. So just the perfect timing.
Seriously, I love that. And then Hope has her husband, Fisher, who was also a part of Worldwide. And you have 2 babies. How are your babies?
They are good. My son just started kindergarten, which is fantastic. It's very fun. Yeah. And then my daughter's in that kind of tyrant stage right now. She's a little crazy. You might hear her a little bit stomping around and screaming and not getting her way all the time, which I don't know where she got that from at all. Yeah, but definitely they're both growing, doing well. So things are great here.
That's exciting. And Steven, you have to give us a life update. How's life going now that you have been out of the business? And I think it's been a couple of years since we've spoken to you.
Yeah, I actually got married back in April.
Yay!
Congratulations!
Yay.
Wow. And your wife, was she in the business or she was after the business?
This was after the business, kind of right in the very next year after I left. That's when we met.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Do you guys have multiple cats or just one?
Just one. His name's Panda. He's a nice but kind of crazy tuxedo, so he may run across the camera at some point.
That's totally fine. We welcome all the babies. I love tuxedo cats. That's so cute, Panda. Oh my God, that's so exciting. Everybody's over here all married, except for me. I'm not married yet.
You just bought a house, so.
We did just buy a house. It's insane. But what I love about each of these stories is that all of this shows the success that you can have outside of this type of business. Mm-hmm. I mean, Hope, you guys had your kids. You had your first son while kind of still in, but leaving. And then your daughter, you had totally out, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. My son, I think, was born a few months, like he was born December 2019. And then COVID hit and we kind of just like weren't into it. We shut down the same time you guys did in March there. So yeah, he was only a few months old. I don't think we went to any functions in person when he was a newborn. So basically like we were in and out, 1 foot in, 1 foot out when he was born. So, but yeah, my daughter was at January 2024 and yeah, completely out, completely different experiences with these, like the younger stage so far. But yeah.
And then Meggan got married. Steven, you got married. Like, these are things, I'm sure everybody here was told, right? Like, if you leave, you will find nothing better. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Everything.
And look at that.
You're even told, like, especially if you're single, you're even told things like, if you leave, nobody's going to want to be with you because then you won't be a winner. I made it very elementary, of course, but, there were just different things like that, like made you believe that you wouldn't be pursuing anything greater. So, the better spouse wouldn't want you anymore because you're not pursuing that. It's just a bunch of garbage.
Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. Steven, I have to know, how does your wife feel about, like, do you tell her like stories about it? And what does she say about like what she feels like the business would have been like, or does she have opinions about it?
It's funny because she listened to the initial episode we did, and that was like very eye-opening for her because I talked about it, but it's talking about it is one thing, but when you're in a room with other folks who have also been through it, it really sheds a light on what it's actually like. And it's funny, at one point when we were dating initially, she got approached by somebody in, I think it was Target, and someone did the whole, hey, nice shoes thing. And she kept asking, she's like, man, what? This person's asking, do they want to be friends? Are they into me? Like, what's going on? I'm thinking, like, I think she's probably from Amway. And I think, like, I found her on LinkedIn. I was like, there's a good chance it's like an Amway person trying to recruit you. But it was interesting seeing her reaction to that happening. And then me on the other side thinking, like, how I would have felt if I was trying to recruit somebody and, like, what we were taught to do in terms of contacting and how you get to know somebody. And the nice shoes is just a dead giveaway. It's like, that's the go-to IBO approach when you're trying to find somebody. So it's just funny seeing that interaction play out from the other side.
That's funny. I think I do remember you telling us about that. That's wild. But you're right. The shoes is a dead giveaway. And honestly, like, fantastic that she has you to be there to be like, hey, just be aware this person's weird. But is she the type of person who would have like told them to buzz off anyway?
She wasn't sure what to do at first because she was like, okay, I'm just kind of like, I'll play along for a bit. And then I think she eventually blocked them. So that's
fair. That's totally fair. That's interesting, though. I love to hear people's perspectives who were never in the business, but have like a partner or a friend or family member who was involved in getting their perspectives as well. My fiance was not involved in the business. He was also approached at one point. And it's really funny to be like, you were almost in Amway. I mean, he never would have gotten involved either, but it is unique. It is unique. But that's where, again, we get to come together and show people that, like, hey, success is possible outside the business. I mean, it might look a little different. I mean, I don't think any of us are Amway diamonds per se, but I don't feel myself looking to chase that same lifestyle. What about you guys? Do you guys ever find yourselves being like, oh, I wish I was an Amway diamond?
Yeah.
No.
I think that's part of the go ahead.
Oh, no, it's just going to
be rich.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to have nice things, but for me, it comes down to, how did I get there? Did I do it right? Did I screw people over? Or did I hurt people in order to get it? Because if you hurt somebody just to get what you want, it loses its luster. And I would honestly rather I don't live in an apartment now, but I'd rather live in an apartment and work my way up, rightfully, than to hurt people and get everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, seeing how diamonds had to live their lives, that confirmed that I didn't want to be a diamond. That's part of the reason why I eventually left. There's so much time spent because you're always managing your team. You're having to deal with these talks. You're having to recruit people constantly, even though you're a diamond. And I already didn't like that aspect of the business as is. So it would have just been more of that if you're a diamond. And I also couldn't do the whole cognitive dissonance thing where it's like, I'm trying to tell folks that this is a great opportunity, but for me, when you're out there, looking for people, etc., I'm like, I can't really tell you that this is going to be a great experience because for me, it wasn't a great experience, to be honest. And I'm like, I can't sit here and say, hey, you should do this, and I'm having doubts. So I couldn't like rectify that in my head. And I'm like, yeah, this is not going to work out long term. So
yeah. I think for me, it's like, I want the money, like, and because of like how burned I was by the system, I feel like if I got to the point where I was an Amway diamond, I'm like, I could revamp some things and I could be able to like go in and say like, okay, these parts of things are not okay, but these parts are. And then I feel like that would even lift like a weight off of my shoulders. But yeah, like, I don't know if there's like an ethical way to be rich in general. That's just kind of my beliefs. I don't really know. So it's like all the time that I'm like, oh, I wish I just had like a flow of income all of the time. I'm like, well, is there really like an ethical way I can do this? So that's why I'm like, yeah, I have these moments where I'm like, I wish I was an Amway diamond. Not realistic, but they don't happen very often. But I would be a fool to say that it's never.
That's fair. I do too. I wish I had the money aspect, but definitely not like the title of Amway Diamond or even the head of any sort of like MLM type of environment. There's no way. I couldn't do it. That, and I just don't feel like I could be myself the way that I can be now as an Amway Diamond. Like, I'm sorry, I don't think I was ever Amway Diamond wife material. Like, I'm not fucking like, I think of like a poised, and I know it's all phony baloney now, but like, yeah, I just remember looking at them and be like, oh my gosh, they're so poised. I'm over here tripping over my fucking shoes in the air. Like, I can't ever be this like person. Like, I had a stain on my shirt because I spilled. Like, there's no fucking way. I could never. Man, I always thought they were so poised. It's interesting. The way that we looked at these diamonds, like when we were first around, like I remember feeling like they were just like fucking royalty. Like Brad and Julie, it just seemed like I'm never even going to meet them because they are so far removed from me as a little peasant human and them being like royalty, right? Like crowns, even like they use that term, crowns. And this is too where I feel like it's great because we were all in. So Hope and I, we have the experience of being in Worldwide Dream Builders, and Stephen and Megan, you guys were in LTD. And we kind of had this conversation ahead of time, was we actually experienced a lot more similarities than I think I realized because, and we kind of talked about this a little bit as well, when we were involved, we didn't talk a lot about the different lines of affiliation, being Worldwide Dream Builders or leadership team development or UR association. I've also heard of a couple of different ones from Canada, or not Canada, I'm sorry, Australia, called Team Mac or something 21. I don't remember what that one was called. But we all collectively know the same names. You guys know who Brad and Julie are, Brad and Julie Duncan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever have an opportunity to see them speak like on stage? Like, did they come and speak for you guys?
Yeah, they did. It was like maybe 2012, 2013, something like that. It was a while back.
How about you guys, Steven?
They never came to speak for us directly, but we leaned on their audios heavily in terms of how we did our recruiting process. And they were held up in the sense of, these are the innovators of the process that we now use, kind of a way. But in terms of them speaking at an LTD conference, at least for our team, I'd never seen that.
Have you guys all heard the snip snip audio?
Yes.
Yes.
Plenty of times.
Yes.
I crack up every time because it seems like everybody who is either, I always say everybody from the US because majority of people are from the US, no offense, hope not to like single you out, but of course you've heard it because you were in Worldwide. But anytime I have an opportunity to talk to somebody new or somebody who like they are just have left their LOA, I'm like, just so you know, everybody's heard the snip snip audio, right? That, oh, you need to cut off anybody who is actually not even involved anymore. And that was another thing I actually had a question for all of you guys. Has anybody here like reconnected with anybody that you did snip? If you did snip, or have your relationships gotten stronger since leaving the business?
I didn't really snip anybody because I didn't want to be
So
that
nice.
person. Thank you. I just didn't want to be that person who was, mean to others. Like I just didn't want to do that. And in fact, some of my old downline and friends that I had talked to about the business before and then those that said no, a lot of them actually came to our wedding. So it was just, we weren't going to have, I didn't want to cut people out for Amway, because there was just always something in the back of my mind that was like, what if you regret cutting them out? And they'll remember how you made them feel. So I never did that. So I was a renegade.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I snipped anyone specifically, or rather intentionally. It's more so if a connection broke off, it was more like, hey, you're in Amway now, so like you're kind of over here situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like you reach out to folks, and you start the business, you go through your list, etc. And some folks have different reactions to being reached out to when you haven't talked to them in a while. So it's like, okay, that might fracture a relationship temporarily. But in terms of like it being a specific break, I never did that either, because it felt unnecessary. Like I still have friends who I was friends with the entire time who weren't in Amway, and I still talk to them. I still talk to them now, but it's just like, it's interesting talking to them now, and they're like, yeah, you were pretty deep in it kind of situation. And, it's got relatively rekindled now, but when you're in it and you hear that resistance from them, you're kind of like, you kind of dig your heels in a bit, and it's like, okay, they kind of wait for you to come out of it and you can, be normal again. So it's good to have that support system.
Yeah, I never cut anybody out. I have like a pretty solid friend group. Steven, Adam, and Tyler, shout out guys. I'm matching tattoos with them, these vampire teeth. We all got matching ones recently, which is very fun. I've been friends with them since like 2012. Steven is actually my ex-boyfriend from high school. And we remained friends. But they like were really pushy about me cutting him out. As he is my ex-boyfriend, who is now gay. He was gay then too, but they were trying to like push me to not be friends with him, and I was like, he's a gay man. I was like, it's okay. But their thing was like, if I was seen out in public with him and like saw a cross line or a down line, they would like question things. And I was like, no, these are like my longest friends. So yeah, like even now, talking to them about it, they're like, oh, yeah, we were just kind of like, we weren't as close back then, but like I never really let go of that friendship. And now that like friendship group is growing beyond like people only know me with my married last name now, and I'm like, that's so weird. But even talking to those friends that know me now, they're like, I can't believe you got sucked into this. They're like, I know your personality. And I'm like, yeah, it's very weird. So like it's a nice perspective, because like I have my oldest friends who knew me while I was in it and I still held on to it, and like these new friends that are like, can't believe you ever did anything like that. So I'm really glad I never cut anybody out.
Yeah. I love that. I think all of you guys are so nice. I did cut people out. But I've rekindled my friendship with all of them. But I like that. Oh, I can't believe that you were ever involved in this, or like when they did give pushback, and the fact that you can kind of continue your relationship through that. I would say that would probably be me and my dad. Like, oh my God, we were like this when I was in the business, man. We fought all the time because I was like, no, you're a loser. My dad is by far the farthest thing from a loser. Like when I think of lifestyle, I would like to be like my dad and my stepmom, because they have a nicer house than anybody I met in Worldwide. They have, just not because they're like wealthy, but because they've worked really hard to have those things. And my dad actually, I'm 32. I'm just about to be 32. Oh my God. But in my life, my dad had one job. My dad is now on his second job in the last 30 years. Like they would always talk shit on that. And now I'm like, oh my God, I wish I was like that. I wish I had that. But rekindling relationships with people, I think, was one of the most fun things. Those who were like really good friends that you're like willing to do and wanted to reconnect with. And I think that that's something that I'm really glad to hear all of you guys have to say as well, that like if you didn't disconnect with anybody, you've strengthened your bond with these people and maintained that. Because a lot of people, if you're out there and this is you, please understand we don't judge, because we all have seen it. where people have just totally isolated themselves in this type of an organization. And I feel like that's why, for me, it's so important to keep talking about this, is so that way for the parents who are out there who still to this day have not spoken to their kids or met their grandkids because their kids are sucked into an organization like this. I promise you, at some point, I can't make promises because there are people who've been in for 50 years and they will continue to be in probably. But there's a very good likelihood that even with that support, that they will eventually come around, because this business is crumbling, and it's because of amazing conversations like this. How many of us heard that we were not supposed to cross line? No cross lining, everybody? Yeah. Look at us now, fucking cross lining. There's so much strength in cross lining, and I would love to hear from everybody. Like, what do you think has been your biggest takeaway from connecting with Crossline, and what do you think is the biggest piece of importance of connecting with Crossline? Whoever wants to go first. I
have learned so much by crosslining. In fact, I married a crossline. I'm crosslining so hard, and I love it. But I have honestly learned so much by doing that, and I know that I can't really talk about the details of it. That's not my story, but there's currently a case in the U.S. Supreme Court against Amway and some of Amway's the LTD's leaders. So Joe Markowitz, Doug Weir, and they try so hard to keep it out of court. That's why there's the arbitration agreement that everybody signs. And it's one of those things that you just sign it without really realizing you're signing it. But there's this case got to the Supreme Court, still in there. So it's basically like public record. There are a lot of things that the public are finding out about that Amway's like, no, we don't want this. Neither does LTD. And so I've learned that honestly, the biggest thing is that if we keep getting the message out there, more and more people are going to realize it. And it's not just a group of losers who just, bottomed out and didn't want to work hard enough. It's like, no, these are amazing people who, were also motivated to make a difference and finally doing something good. We never knowingly did anything wrong, but, we're trying to make a difference here. And I think that's like the biggest thing that I've learned, is that we're not alone. And this is a really good, valiant fight that we're in.
I think just being able to compare notes is really good. Because again, like Meggan, actually in this case, you're the first person I've talked to from LTD that's like actually left. So yeah, just hearing your perspective on different things in terms of like what you've seen. Because I left in 2021, you left in 2023. So things have happened since then, and kind of hearing how that's changed, or, how the business is trying to cope with people leaving more and all that, the whole revolving door situation. So I think just having that and having that community of folks that you can really go, hey, like, that was weird, right? Because when you're in the business, you see all types of stuff, and you can kind of gaslight yourself into thinking, like, okay, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm the problem, whatever. And you get out and it's like, no, this is all actually very orchestrated. Like just the things you go through in terms of trying to build the business, or the things you may see at conferences, et cetera. Like you can't really question that while you're in, because the cross-hunting aspect is gone. But once you're out, you can really have those conversations. Hey, like, did you experience this? Did you experience that? I think that really helps to legitimize a lot of feelings that people have when they come out, and also just building that community of folks you can communicate with when you're out as well, because that can be a big thing too. Leaving any kind of cult environment, you almost have to start over in a sense. So I think having that place is important.
Yeah, I feel I felt like I was being gaslit a lot, and that's something I hear a lot. So being able to like crossline, it kind of like makes me realize that I wasn't crazy this whole time for thinking that some of these things were weird. And that's kind of what has been like good for me, is like I was told by so many people like a lot of like misogynist teachings and things that I didn't really understand, and it got me to like question things and their teachings. And I was like, but everybody around me had such a similar mindset of like, well, this is very normal. And then speaking to people who were never in and going like, is this normal? Them saying no. And then being able to talk to like you guys and say like, did you experience this? Did you think it was normal? It's like, yeah, I thought it was normal, but it gave me like a funny feeling. Made me be like, okay, so I was not actually crazy. That's my favorite part about being able to cross line now. That's what I've learned the most. So.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that we've been able to also just kind of develop a community of people who like you said, Stephen, like you get to compare notes and really like you said, Hope as well, like you're gaslit into believing all of these different things and you start to question like, is this real? Did I actually experience this? And then there's also, I feel like so much fear as well that they instill into us with the don't cross line. I know for myself, I was afraid to reach out to anybody after I left because I was like, am I going to steal their dream? Are they going to hate me if I reach out? Like, are they going to hate me because I left? And then of course we've all heard, right? When people leave, they speak so negatively about people who leave, which is honestly like so culty now that we know. But I'm so glad that we can all come together and share our experiences because even just the differences between the lines of affiliation still to this day kind of shocks me because did you guys know a lot about Worldwide and Worldwide Dream Builders, Worldwide? Like, were you guys taught about the different lines of affiliation, Meggan and Stephen? Because you guys had diamonds and audios and things from our line of affiliation.
Yeah, we did. I learned a little bit, and it really happened when I don't remember what year it was, maybe like 18 or 17, when we had we had Trevor and Lexi Baker in at a conference. It wasn't the one that I attended. It was a separate one, but that audio was dispersed and talked about like endlessly. And at the time I really loved that audio, but we started to learn a little bit more then about that kind of thing. And I became aware of Brit Worldwide when my upline, like not my sponsor, but their sponsor, she could not keep her mouth shut. She was just such a gossip, but she was always talking about something that she heard, but framing it in like, don't tell anybody this, but blah, 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 blah. And that person. And so she was talking about how LTD spun off from Brit Worldwide. And so that, and then the audio from Trevor and Lexi Baker, that's really the only knowledge that I had of any other LOA until I got out.
Yeah, for me, so my story's a little bit different. My dad was in Brit Worldwide when I was a kid, and he was in Amway back with that period where they were called Quick Star. So it's funny, he still has his like old ID card and all this stuff. I knew about that, and I'd been approached about Amway once before by someone I knew who was in URA. I didn't know too much about the differences between them until I really got into the business myself, but I knew there were different like groups and they had different cultures, things like that. And I kind of saw more of that. Like, and as I got in and understood why LTD was created, but you didn't hear too much of that outside of that across stage. Again, you had the different teams that had set up their different processes and how we learned from that and how we adopted that. But a lot of how Amway does their communication to the IBOs, it's very much, they want everything to be in-house. So they don't want you listening to some other diamonds, teachings, even more so if you're trying to learn about network marketing at all. Like, they don't really like having you listen to outside information. It's like, we want you to listen to our selection of audios only for the most part. And that's like how they really want you to get all of your knowledge about the business from. So we didn't get as much from outside, more so just straight up LTD.
Makes a lot of sense. It always is unique to me why we didn't like. Well, I don't know. I don't know that we'll ever really know. But it almost feels like our diamonds were viewed as some of the most successful. Not to like boast or by any means. Like, I don't think any of them are good people. But it's just I never understood. Like, nowadays, why did we never have a successful LTD diamond come and speak for us? Why did we never have a BWW or URA diamond ever come speak for us? But our diamonds were the ones who were out here, especially Hope, your diamonds are not your specific diamonds, but
yeah.
who were a part of your upline, the Whalens.
Yeah.
They, from my understanding, spoke everywhere. Were you guys told about that when they would go and speak for the different lines of affiliation?
Like we were somewhat briefed on it. Like I feel like Noella mentioned it once, like in passing during like a break in a board plan. She like said something like, "Oh, we're gonna go speak for other LOAs," and I was like, "What's an LOA?" And then nobody really answered me. They were kind of like, "It's a derivative of Amway, like worldwide," and I was like, I didn't really care because I was like, okay. Then I just kind of moved on. But yeah, that would have been like 2017, 2018 that they were mentioning that, because that's when I was pretty deep in, I think. And I was like, man, I don't really care.
Right.
Yeah,
well, and it was, and it sounds like it's never from stage. And it even sounds like something maybe they would learn, like that you're not supposed to say that. Because, I mean, the questions that I always have is like, obviously they were paid. How were they paid? Like, were they getting paid from your, like, for example, if they would have gone to speak for LTD and you guys are paying for your venue, are they getting the money from that? Like, and then is it like, that's where that's where I have questions. So many questions that obviously we might never have the answers to. And that's where, again, that like, is this fully legal kind of comes into play, because there's no real disclosing where is the money actually coming from to these leaders. And this is a question I like to ask everybody, which I think I've asked each individual person through their interview, but I'd like to ask again is, were you guys ever told while you were in the business that they were getting paid on the Jules money?
Nope.
Yep.
Exactly. And I think I've spoken about this before briefly, just with people like Steve. Was it Steve? Is that his name from the Emerald? Was that his name? I think his name is Steve.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Steve. Shout out, Steve. Steve is great. But he was one of the first people I spoke to who had made it to a level where they were making money from the tools, and even he said there was no real explanation other than like, oh, well, you're getting money because you're going out and getting paid. And you'll have to listen to his episode where he talks about, what it was like to experience that. But even he didn't know where his money was going until he had seen the receipts that were left in the tools, which I think is so unique, because now we all know. And I used to say allegedly because I wasn't sure. Then we slowly started to get information that they're for sure getting paid. Like we have, I don't know if we have one for LTD, but I know we have a terms and conditions, a list of their terms and conditions for worldwide that's explicitly states that the tools money is going. I wonder if we could get our hands on a copy of one from LTD. If you're out there and you have one.
I have one.
You have one. Is it
I
in
have
there?
one. I have to review it, but I have it. Like it's
Okay.
we just moved, so it's over here in a basket.
Oh, sweet. Okay, so at some point we might know it's in there. I will still say allegedly for, because I should for LTD, but I know for a fact that the worldwides, they're the ones who are explaining it, but they don't talk about it on stage. They don't ever go through any of the terms. I mean, let's be real though, nobody goes through the terms and conditions, and we know that. But I feel like for example, for YouTube, if I go on and I watch my favorite YouTubers out there and they're like, oh, go put in our code for Liquid IV. Shout out Liquid IV. I love Liquid IV. But there's like a common theme, right? Like I put in the code, the discount code, I get a discount. They're getting some sort of commission on whatever Liquid IV is paying for them. And I know that. Or I know that there's some sort of revenue that they're getting as far as like YouTube AdSense, if they're big enough channel, whatever, right? Like there's a common theme, like we know about it and they talk about it. But with something like LTD, the only things that we're told are all their money's coming from Amway. Did anybody ever actually understand the compensation plan? I have to know.
Just on the Amway side, I did, but not the LTD side.
Yeah, Amway, as much as you can understand a MLM compensation plan, but they kind of gave us the whole rundown about how, the stair-step breakaway system works, and you get a leg over a certain amount of PV, they break off from you, and you get a percentage, et cetera, to keep them from growing too much. I'll say this, after I left Amway, I was a part of another MLM briefly, and it's almost kind of a running joke that Amway's compensation plan is so terrible. The amount of money they make compared to other MLMs is very, very low. Like just from the MLM side, not counting OT.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, really? They're not getting paid much at all. Like, so much of it is held back. And I didn't realize that until I left. And I was like, whoa, it's interesting. So.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
They always talked about, oh, it's the best in the business.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hyped up like Amway because they've been around forever. So they get the whole like, yeah, we're the biggest, we're the best. But they've been around the longest. But in terms of actual pay, they're like one of the lowest. And
was it like under platinum that they were like they get paid very low? Because I'm wondering if it like above platinum, if that's where the compensation starts to get better.
This was just more so like overall, like even for
wow.
the diamonds above, like the amount that you'd make based on like if you were doing the math in terms of the commissions you make from sales, et cetera, like yeah, there are other MLMs that are smaller, but you'd get paid more than Amway. You just may not have the longevity. Companies go bankrupt, things like that. But in terms of actual numbers, yeah, Amway doesn't really pay as much as a lot of other ones do.
That's
wow.
crazy.
Which is why
maybe I should have looked at
money
these
from
numbers.
the tools businesses. I think that's why that's such a big thing because like that makes up for that gap, and they're getting paid so much from that. But
yeah. Oh,
wow. I didn't know that. Just to be clear, we here at the Exes and T podcast are anti-MLM as a whole, as a majority.
Yes.
Each individual person, you guys can have your own first opinion. Just want to put that as a blanket statement. I personally do not believe any MLMs are positive, but to hear that, but again, I do think that's a very important piece of information to share because that's a very interesting thing. All of us who'd never heard that were like, what? Like, that's wild because we heard this is the best in the business. Like, this is the most, like, we get paid more than anybody else. But I wonder if they say that because of the tools money. Now, they can't, of course, tell us. They would always hold up. I don't know if your guys' diamonds did this, but I know my diamond, when Matt was involved, he would always say, or even Michael Haddad, who was an Emerald, they would point at it and say, I have to legally tell you about this, but we blow these numbers out of the water. And I don't understand how they're making so much money and they never explained it. So I wonder if they're saying that this is the best because of the tools money. What do you guys think? That's my personal speculation.
I 100% agree. Because everything points back, when it comes to tools, everything for me points back to that episode on Roberta's podcast, Life After MLM, where she had Sean Munger on, because he actually talks about the tools money, the origination of it, where it came from. And then I have a friend who was a diamond, and she left on her own accord because of just a lot of things going on. But she told me straight up that that's absolutely what happens, that about 70 to 80% of the money that they made was because of tools. Yeah.
That's
I heard something
crazy.
different.
Wow. Yeah, we definitely like.
I wonder if it's different. Yeah, because so I met up with Ryan and Noella, like we've talked about, and one of the questions, like, there was a few things we obviously wanted to bring up, and one of them was like, why don't you just tell us how much money you make off of like Communicate and the Worldwide app or whatever? And they were like, well, it's like pennies in comparison to like what we get paid for Amway. And it was just like the way that they were saying it didn't sound inauthentic. Like it wasn't like they were trying to hide something. And I was like, well, how does it work? And they were like, well, like you, like once you hit diamond, like you own a portion of Worldwide. So you get like a little bit of the premier membership payment, like just a small portion. And I was like, okay, but like maybe this is pennies to millionaires. I don't know. Like, so I don't know, maybe this is thousands and thousands of dollars a month. But for them, it just doesn't look like much in comparison. But the way that they were talking about it, it sounded like they genuinely don't understand how the tools compensation works. Like, it didn't feel like they were lying to me about it. They were just like, they're like, it really doesn't make a difference if we did Worldwide or not. They're like, the Amway money is where the money's at. And I was like, oh, interesting. But like, I don't know, like it could be like, I could have been tricked. Like they're good at that stuff. So I'm not going to like say that I trust everything that came out of their mouth, but it's like at the same time, it felt like they were like, couldn't really figure out how to explain it because they've never had to like sit down and think about it. Which is odd because Ryan does that. So I'm like, maybe I got tricked. I don't know. Or maybe like Worldwide's different than LTD or, BWW. Like, I don't know how the compensation works, but it felt like when I was asking how it worked, they were like, I don't really know.
Wow.
I think that's fair. I still to this day think that they might not know how it works. And I feel like there's probably like maybe some of the old school diamonds who I can think of from Worldwide might know. I feel like maybe there's a select few who were a part of the like putting it together, because I think the careers know. Like Jim and Bobby. Jim has to know, or like Georgia Lee probably also knows, or maybe she was kept in the dark as like some sort of, because women are seen as inferior. But I could totally see how some diamonds might know and some might not know. But it's also the fact that they're not being open about how much they're making. That's where I kind of speculate, where I feel like they might have been downplaying it intentionally, because even Steve was like, and of course you're right, it could be different in Worldwide because Steve was in a different line of affiliation altogether. But he talked about how the majority of what they're making is actually coming from the tools, which I also want to reference the same thing as you, Meggan. If you're out there and you haven't listened yet, Life After MLM episode 136, that is called the Amway Tools Cult, Life After MLM. It's with Sean Munger. Sean Munger also has a YouTube channel where he goes into, he's a historian. So he's purely just going at it from what information he was able to kind of find with the history of these tools businesses. And it's a very interesting thing to really listen to, because he's going through some old recordings that they had where the tool side of things, they were fighting with Amway to be able to even keep their tools business going. And so that leads me to believe that Amway is just, I mean, I don't personally feel like Amway is by any stretch of the imagination a good entity. I know that there's probably quite a few conspiracy theories. There's also some things that can be proven, like they're linked to the Heritage Foundation. I don't want to go too much into that. That is not my scope of expertise. But if you look up the Heritage Foundation, you will find some dark shit. So if that's a road you want to go down, fantastic. I'm not going to get into it here. But this whole idea of it being a scam, I think, is so important to let people know. And actually, that's something I'd like to get perspective wise from each of you guys, because all of us were involved. All of us were sold out. We loved the business more than anything at one period of time. What was it that kind of helped you see, oh, this is not good? And with that, what do you think is a good way to tell other people to make sure that we're keeping it digestible, if that makes sense?
I would honestly, the first thing for me was seeing the fact that I was already in for 14 years, or maybe at that point it was 13, and seeing that I was no better off financially than when I started. So like, yes, I had a better job, but I was also spending more money. And as we know, life gets more expensive. So I was like, still just after buying all of, not all, but most of the PV every month. And side note, we were taught to then report it as customer PV, which is, allegedly fraud, wink, wink. But I was like, why are my finances still not what they said it would be? They said, stick in there and you'll see a difference. And it was like, where is this difference? I'm still frustrated. And at that point, my quote unquote business was a freaking teenager. Like this, I should be further along. And I was like, I think just over 30 at that point. And I was like, I'm really tired of this happening. So I lowered my goal. And, from 300 to 150 PV a month. And, which, for anybody who doesn't know, PV, every product that Amway has is assigned a point value. So, like a box of vitamins could, be like $60, $70, but be worth 20 PV. So you're essentially spending 3 times more than the face value of the PV. But I was just really not happy with that. And so I lowered my goal, and then I started to learn a little bit more about how the system works, just different angles of it. And I was like, this really can't continue. And I was so scared to let myself think these things, because I had been conditioned for that point up until like for 14 years. So I was like, okay, I had to really be brave and just look at it as like factual and not with my emotions. And I realized that no, this isn't right. So honestly, if somebody's in that boat, I would really highly recommend take a pragmatic look at everything that is happening in your life. Are your relationships actually better, or are they founded on, you doing your PV, you showing up to Amway meetings? Finances is a big one. Are your finances actually better? Like, are you prospering in the way that you were told you would? And, just to go a little deeper within that, like, are your finances prospering as a result of you doing the right thing? Are they, is it founded on you recruiting, or are you actually like building something that you own? I mean, there are a lot of different logical questions that you should ask yourself, and really only you can answer them. But that it's going to take some bravery to actually look at it that way. But if you can walk up to somebody in Target and contact them out of the blue, you can really do anything else. You just have to get out of your own way. So there's a lot I could say about that.
Oh, that was really good. Thank you.
For me, it was more of a like death by 1,000 cuts kind of situation. But I think my biggest hot button issue at the time was just that I felt that the teaching that was built around how to build the business didn't actually work, and you weren't allowed to question the process at all. So one of the reasons why, and again, I'm anti-MLM now, but one of the reasons why I jumped ship to a different company after being in for 3 years was that I kept doing the same things over and over again. I'm thinking like, this isn't working at all. Like, you'd be out there contacting. Pre-COVID, I would go to like networking events, meet folks there, try to just do different things around the city. Like, everything is built around you trying to find people to either sponsor or sell something to, which one is mentally exhausting, but also it just isn't a very effective way to do things. So you're doing that. You get to a point where COVID happens, and now you're revisiting your old list. You're on LinkedIn, DMing random people, trying to see if you can find some kind of connection and sponsor folks that way. You met some interesting characters doing that. So just all of that. And I'm like, this isn't working. And again, you go to your upline like, hey, like, how do we actually sponsor people? And they're just like, it's always a situation of it's always your fault. So it's like, okay, maybe there's something you're not doing. Maybe you need to read more. You need to listen to more audios. You need to do all these different things. And I kept doing that. I'm like, no, it just isn't working. Like, trying to approach random strangers isn't a viable strategy in 2021. But you try to tell them that, and it's like, oh no, this is the process. Even that summit where you had Larry Winters on stage talking about how we have these new diamonds, he was like, yeah, it's so simple. You just got to go outside and talk to people. And I'm like, that's not how this works. Like, that's not how normal human interaction works. So that was a big reason why I ended up leaving in that case. The other thing I had was that when it came to the relationship I was in at the time, like, that was also fracturing as a result of Amway. So it's like, when you're dating somebody or not in this, but you're dating somebody outside the business, your goal is to get them into the business with you. So like, if they're not with you, they will essentially try to pry the both of you apart in a sense, because they feel that that person is holding you back. And I kind of noticed that happening as well. I'm like, oh, this is weird. Like, you'd go on a date and you're like, hey, when you're on the date, make sure you contact some folks. And it's like, that's not why I'm there, So it's the way that they want to invade every aspect of your life. And if it doesn't roll on Amway, they tend to confront on that. And I noticed at least with other companies I've seen, they're not like that. They have their own cultiness, but they're not the all-encompassing God in your life that Amway is supposed to be, and the way Amway does that. So that was another part of my like deconstruction. And just seeing all those, I'm like, yeah, this doesn't work. Like, I'm losing money. It's taking over my personal life. It's like, it's doing all this different stuff. So it's once you leave, you feel so much lighter. And that's the best way I can describe it. Just, you have all your time back. You don't have to feel like you're walking her outside with, hey, who's this person? Let me go. They look sharp. Let me talk to them. Like that's all gone. And having that weight off your back is such a relief. And I can't really describe how much of a difference it makes to not be in that environment anymore. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna lie, I forgot what the question was.
No, you're totally fine. It was just like, what were some things that helped you realize like how like that this was a scam?
Oh, yes.
And
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
thought. I was like, I don't want to talk and not be right. So, yeah, I don't know. Again, love and respect. I think that was the big one. When I was like reading that book, and I was like, I don't think men are this weak. Like, I was like, men are like strong beings, and they want to be honored by telling us that they can't handle certain things, and they're actually like weak. And I was like, the men in my life aren't like this. And I was like, and I feel like it was giving like men an out to be like considered, um, like to be able to be treated like babies. And I was like, this doesn't seem honorable. I was like, this doesn't seem like the men on stage and that I, am around in my life. And then I was like, but the majority of these guys on stage who are like living for their wives and being like brave and honorable are actually just men children. Like I was like, that's what I'm getting the vibe of here. I really didn't love that because I was like, like I would say like I'm a liberal person now, and it's like we have this side where we like have a lot of misandry, but the thing is like the misandry is actually it comes from holding men accountable and having them honorable and then in being good. And I was like, this double speak and this cognitive dissonance is really hurtful for men. And I was like, I don't love this. So yeah, I didn't like that. And then obviously the opposite side of that with like the women, whatever, like that I kind of took at face value because I was like, I'm not like that. I'm stronger than that. I'm better than that. But yeah, that was a huge one because I was like, you guys are really not the people you say you are on stage if you're pushing these kind of teachings and books to us. And then like obviously the money thing, I was in for 5 years and didn't make anything. I would say probably anything. Like maybe 1 or 2 months was like kind of good, but like $50. Like yay. I was always spending. I always spent more than I made, 100% of the time. So yeah, and it just wasn't working. It was they were like, well, 1 out of every 10 people you're going to approach are going to be interested. That never happened. My generation, like like I'm a cusper for Gen Z and millennial, and I'm like, we were very on the internet. Like we're like, you can't tell us not to look things up, and those are my peers. Like people are not interested in this unless you're blunt and you're like straight up like, this is multi-level marketing, this is Amway, this is how you make money, then they may be kind of interested, but we weren't doing that. We're being sneaky. And I didn't like that. That was another thing I said to Ron and Noella. I was like, don't be sneaky. I was like, people don't like that anymore. Tell them it's Amway immediately. And people would appreciate that a lot more. So yeah, that's kind of my take there.
Absolutely. Which is, I mean, I think collectively everybody kind of said a very similar thing was like the money, right? You're in for how long and you're not making anything. And you start to realize like, I've got my wheels, I'm spinning constantly in the mud. I'm making no progress. I'm getting nowhere in the snow or wherever you're at. Cause we don't have snow in the part of Arizona that I'm in, thank God. But you're staying in the same fucking place and you're getting nowhere. And I feel like that is such an important thing that I would love to get people to hear is if nothing else, right? There's a lot of information out there. I am not a person, nor is my channel the type to push any sort of really big conspiracy theories. That is just not the angle that I would like to take. That is not a supportive angle that I'm not a part of that, right? So I want, if anybody else to hear anything, is like, we gave it our fucking all. Not a single person that I have spoken to, and not that anybody would really like say like, oh, I didn't try, but we all did. None of us got into this business and we're like, you know what, I'm gonna do nothing. No, we gave it our all. We were working multiple jobs. We were out at 2 in the fucking morning, putting ourselves, especially as women, in danger because we didn't get our fucking contact for that day. We were literally some of the hardest working people that you will have ever met. And this bullshit idea that, oh, well, they didn't work hard enough, that's why they left. Bullshit. Bullshit. And this is actually something that I started to learn after the fact. And this is where I think it would be great to kind of talk about some things that we've learned after we've left. And this is maybe teetering on the conspiracy theory role here, but it's not crazy. But it's that these diamond chips are manufactured. And a lot of this are things that we're seeing on the outside and learning, like putting PV under different legs to beef up, moving people into different lines of sponsorship to beef up a leg, or allegedly diamonds buying PV and putting it into their people's legs, whether that's their downline or somebody in their home, which we've all heard the rumor that there's a specific diamond out there who's buying, or who was, I don't know if they still are, they were buying PV and putting it in their nanny's name, the nanny that they so lovely and they rescued. That was one of the big parts of their stories, that they fucking rescued this woman and now they might allegedly be exploiting them. Who fucking knows? But that's a common denominator of something that I've heard since leaving, is that none of these diamond chips are actually like genuine diamond chips. They're all manufactured to some degree. And you have to think about it as well. I mean, we're buying our own PV, which is a huge thing. Actually, on the question side of things for LTD, because we've heard a lot with Worldwide, we were taught to buy everything. The whole sales thing didn't come until after 2019. So for Meggan and Steven, were you guys taught how to sell your guys' products?
It's kind of like iffy because like for our team, they actually did spend time trying to teach us how to do retail. Now, the problem is that didn't really work in the long term. Like the ultimate goal was like, hey, if you got a few customers on your Ditto, then you're covered for the month, whatnot. The problem is, like, at least in my experience, I might get a customer here and there, but they were never repeat customers. And what I came to realize after leaving Amway and again seeing how things work other places as well, MLM products in general are super overpriced. And when you look at what you're spending for what you get inside of a set product, it's like, even as an IBO, you're paying a lot, and as an IBO, you're paying reduced cost for what you use. That's still more expensive than you going to, say, a Walmart or something and picking up energy drinks or your soaps or things like that. So I think that was a big hurdle, and that's not really talked about in terms of why customers wouldn't want to buy in the first place. So they teach it. They'd say, yeah, Amway, they're up top, they're saying it's important for us to do it, but I think in practice, it's very difficult, and it ultimately came back down to, okay, like you can buy things for yourself, but you can mark it down as a sample, just give it away to like your friends or your parents or whoever, and like say, hey, this is a sample, this is my qualified PV, allegedly. But that was how that was all done. So at least for me, I never had months where I was really bringing in true legitimate customer volume. It was always like, I'm sampling these or whatnot. So you spend so much money. I mean, if you're trying to hit, say, 300 core PV a month, that's $900 of products that is really moving to your business. And you're either trying to buy your way there or trying to get customers or whatnot. But most of it's bought. And yeah, that was how it was approached for us. It was all, at the end of the day, it was buying by another name. So
yeah, I would agree. We had even less of a focus on retail. I think they would cover some retail topics when just to check a box, but really to get the pressure off of them. So like maybe once a month there would be an info session where the first part of it, there would be like a product commercial or something. And it was still like stuff you already know. It's like, okay, come on. And to Steven's point, if you're buying like I love like healthy snack bars, and I was shopping at Aldi, shout out, I love Aldi. And there was like $5 for a box of these like healthy-ish bars. And I was like, wow, this is so great. I remember spending $18 on Amway wellness bars, and they tasted like sawdust. And that's just like a huge example, but they teach you more so how to buy than to actually sell. And they only cover any retail topics when you just need to check a box. Like I would say like 99% of what they talked about was recruiting and buying PV. and finding ways to allocate that PV you bought to make it look on paper like it was a customer sale, not the actual customer sale.
Yes. Yep. Okay. So collectively, we all had a very similar experience where we were not taught to sell. We were told, at least I can speak for my line of sponsorship. Yeah, like my sponsor, actually, this is kind of funny because we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the gossipy things that we've heard. So this will kind of lead into that a little bit. But my diamond, who's no longer involved, Matt Wynn, he would talk about how horrible he was at sales. A big part of his like board plans were, I got fired selling cell phones in 2008 when cell phones were at their highest peak. Shout out, by the way, if they ever bring back the Sidekick, I'm dropping my phone. I will get rid of the Samsung. I'm going right back to Sidekick. You guys remember the swivel screen? Those were the days. I'm telling you, I will drop Samsung so fucking quick to get me a Sidekick. Anyways, but he would talk about that, right? He would talk about how terrible he was at sales and how he got fired from many sales jobs. And if this was sales, he wouldn't be involved. And so it was very much focused on recruitment. And if we know what makes a pyramid scheme, what is one of the different characteristics? Recruitment, which I feel like is why they can't tell us a lot about the tool side of things, because they would have to admit that that's little less than legal for them to be taking the money and for it to all be recruitment based. Now, I don't know the logistics of that. If we have, I would love, oh my God, if you guys are out there and you know how this works, like you know the inner workings of what makes this a pyramid scheme, please reach out to me. If you're a lawyer, oh my God, I would love to speak to a lawyer. LawTube, please reach out. I would love to. Anyways, but we all heard buy the products yourself, which is not sustainable, which is why I personally choose to believe that a lot of the diamond ships are not actual, real, genuine diamond ships, that they're all some sort of buying their way into that. And let's be real, a majority of people cannot fucking afford to buy their platinum ships. In fact, actually, we have a recording. If you guys haven't heard it, please go listen. It was an audio that I had from somebody who sent it to me anonymously. One of my upline platinums was talking about how Amway wants you to buy your legs. That was fun to learn. In fact, this specific person had actually pled guilty to running an illegal pyramid scheme. Funny enough. Crazy. Yeah. Anyways, so speaking of the little pieces of gossip, this is, I think, a little bit fun because we all hear shit when we leave, because some of us who still keep in touch, or people like myself who have developed a little bit of a platform, we hear things. And so my diamonds are no longer together. This couple has since gotten divorced. And from my understanding, the wife is still around, Riley Wynn is still in, and Matt Wynn is out. Now, why? It has all up for speculation. I'm not even going to speculate here just because there's so many different stories that are running around. But if somebody wants to come and tell me, I'm here to listen. We're here to share your story. But what are some crazy things you guys have heard since you've left? Because, I mean, we're talking, I think divorce is a pretty big one that I've heard most commonly. We're talking about an organization that preaches against fucking divorce. What are some things you guys have heard about your upline? I love Meggan's smile right there. She's like, oh, I got something.
Well, it's a good thing this is called X's and T, because Amway is all of our X, and I've got some T. So
we're here for it.
But now I know from somebody who knows, who heard from somebody else. So it's hearsay, but I know that it's true because of how the system works. But my upline diamond, David and Angie Franklin, I have been told that they are not even diamond anymore. Like, I know for a fact that two or more of their platinum legs actually quit. But then one of them was totally a fake platinum leg. They came out of nowhere. They always love those underdog stories. And these are people that I was so close with them. I absolutely love them. And I still love them, but I'm like, you guys are doing something wrong here. And I even texted Angie, and I think I read the text on our episode, Danny. I read it to somebody, but I was telling her about the morality part of all of this, because she was supposed to be one of the most moral people that I've known. But yeah, they're not even diamond anymore. And in fact, I think that the only reason that they're above platinum is because of downline that they have. So they don't have all the legs supporting everything. I don't think they're even, I don't think they're even emerald, which they were supposedly at for a long time.
Wow.
So there's that. And then I also saw, this is just, I'm not a real estate guru, but I have common sense. So I saw that their upline diamond, Doug Namey Weir, their house is currently for sale for $4 million more than the value. And so, in my opinion, just as a layperson, again, who doesn't know a whole lot about real estate, why would you put $4 million of renovations into a house? You just, that, you know, it's like only worth like 2.5 million. You wouldn't do that. So no, who would do that? So, you know, and I could be missing something here, but it looks to me like there's trouble in paradise. And the fact that this particular the guy of the couple is also teaching people on the side how to do investments like day trading and stuff, and he's got some of his own downline involved in that. This is alleged. I've seen the website, I've looked at it, but it's, you know, at this point it's alleged. Go look for yourself. But yeah, it's interesting. A lot of the evidence points to some problems, and the different things that we're seeing kind of don't look right. We know people are leaving in droves. We know Gen Z doesn't want this. And, you know, to Hope's point, like, I had not recruited one Gen Z person. Everybody was millennial or older. And as many times as I tried to talk to a Gen Z, they were like, I don't know about this. Mm-hmm. And to their credit, just very smart, very savvy. Yeah, that's the tea that I have, whether it's boiling hot or kind of tepid. I'm not sure, but there you go.
Wow. Holy shit. Isn't that, I mean, obviously, like you said, it's all alleged, right? But I mean, I'm pretty sure there's cardinal rules against that, right? From
don't mess with with anybody's money. Yeah.
That, and it's also an Amway rule. You can't recruit from Amway to something else. So, you know, if that day trading thing is, you know, an MLM or not, it's not. But I mean, he's technically alleged breaking that rule.
Like, yeah.
But if we kick him out of Amway, then, you know, he's on like the IBOAI board, or he was.
Damn, he's up there. Mm-hmm. These are some sketchy ass people. Holy shit.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry. Yeah. If any of that's true, that's
yeah. That's crazy. What about you, Stephen? Have you heard anything pretty crazy about your upline since leaving?
Honestly, no. I'm so out of the loop that outside of folks I'm like, you know, still Facebook friends with or whatnot, which sometimes I'll just kind of like see their page. I'm like, I wonder if they're still in or not, but I don't know any like goings on of our former team or my former team or whatnot. That's very like still a mystery to me. So it'd be interesting to see in the future who kind of comes out and is like, yeah, you know, I finally left or whatnot. But as for now, it seems like from what I can see on my end, it's very much business as usual, but I'm sure beneath the surface, there's a lot of like rumblings going on. Because I do know they've tried to change their process a few times in terms of how they recruit people, because was it 5 or 7 step process that the Whalens were using? It was too much. And like, yeah, I got to go through all this. I got to see the plan twice. I got to have all these meetings, 2 follow-ups, questionnaire, which is a lot for people. So they probably wanted to speed that up and see if they could streamline it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if they'll get to the point where they realize that the business itself isn't really attractive. And like Hope said, especially with Gen Z, they're looking at everything. At one point, we were even talking about trying to be more direct and say, hey, this is Amway, and not just do the whole like, oh, I know this couple who retired, such and such, all that. So I think they're trying to do that now, but it may be too little too late. And they're probably having a lot of issues just getting folks to get in at all using that. So.
I mean, hey, no news is good news. And sometimes it's honestly a little bit better to protect your peace and not really stay involved. But hopefully we have some people coming in. Maybe somebody will come and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I know those people. So We can always cross our fingers. Hope, I know you have tea.
I
You're
have
always got the
so
tea.
much. I'm like, should I just speed run it? Like, should I just say it all, or should I just like pick my
Whatever
favorites? Like, I don't know.
whatever you want to say, things that you think are really important. Because the reason why I think this is important to talk about is because these people want to pretend like these are this is the end all be all. This is the greatest thing in the world. They've all got the best marriages. They've got the most wealth, whatever. But I'm sorry, they're all crumbling, and they all have to find outside things to do. Their marriages are crumbling. So I feel like it's important to talk about those things. Whatever you think is important.
Yeah, true. Okay, fine. I'll speed run it. Okay, so first things first, I know that the Worldwide app, allegedly, that the Worldwide app is taking down old audios to like
That I've heard.
them.
Wow.
That is some tea. I don't know like what's going on there. I'm guessing that like some of those audios that like we heard when we were in weren't necessarily the most like, you know, legal things. That's again just my opinion. I don't know like if it's being taken down because it's illegal, like who knows. That's one. Two, I have like a gut feeling that the Alberta Diamonds, like Dina Marcy Whalen and Ryan and Noella, are not diamonds anymore. But I do know Ryan and Noella pretty well, and they have like a pretty good sense of integrity. And Ryan's still wearing his diamond ring. And I feel like if they fell out, Ryan would have taken it off. But I was like looking some things up and trying to figure out like what exactly happens if somebody falls out of diamond qualification. And basically like there was like an old lawsuit that came up with Brad and Julie, and basically as far as I'm understanding, once you're a diamond, you're just considered a diamond. Like even if you don't actually have a diamond ship anymore and you're like a ruby or whatever, you're always going to be a diamond in like the worldwide system as far as like I'm understanding. But like I don't know like necessarily what I'm reading. I'm not really a lawyer. I don't know like how to read legal documents, but that's like what I'm understanding as to like why they would still be like wearing their rings and like putting on this persona, because like they don't have family reunions anymore. Like the Whalens used to have their own Canadian family reunion. We don't have any. I think we have one Canadian function now. And when all the functions were in Canada, it was a huge deal. Like everybody was like so happy. We didn't have to like travel across the border. And like, you know, some people can't cross the border as well. Like, you know, like criminals and stuff like that. Like, so there was like, you know, it was a big deal for us to have functions in Canada, and that went away in like, I don't know what year. I want to say 2022, 2023, but like COVID was like a big hit for that. And I remember like it was like a big thing in the Olympics was 2020 vision. They wanted to have their own family reunion by 2020. And now it's like falling backwards. But the thing is like from what I've seen on social media, like Dean and Marcy are not doing so hot financially. They have had liens on their house, apparently. That's something I've heard in passing. The contractors that worked on their place, like I know have worked on other people's places and have said some things to us indirectly that yeah, apparently it's just not like a great situation. But again, I don't really know like all the details there, because again, that's some legal stuff I don't understand. What's the other stuff? I was going to say something else. Oh, I don't think the Olympics will ever be in financial despair. Ryan is so good with money. They like, even if they ever lost anything, like they're probably set for life. But I can't say the same thing about the Whalens. I feel like they're having some problems, especially you see like he's on Facebook Marketplace all the time trying to sell stuff. Like,
that's right.
Like I seen like $100 like garbage cans or something like that somebody posted. I'm like, that's crazy. Like you're just, you know, he's gonna block me on Facebook now. I know he's gonna know, but I'm gonna lose that.
We see. Sorry, there was also, I'm so sorry to like cut you off, but like on that same note, we saw in one of his Facebook posts like stacks of what were they? Hope they were the air purifiers, stacks and stacks of those. And if you were not in the business, you'd have no idea what the hell you're looking at. But like tons of them.
Yeah, and like those are what $2,000 a piece. Like that's a way to buy your PV. But
They're
the
like
thing
400
is
PV
like,
a piece.
oh yeah, see, there you go. Yeah, that's like But yeah, there's like, oh man, I wish I had more gossip. But like I did meet up with Ryan and Noella, and like there's not really anything there. Again, like I said before this, like I feel like in another life we could have been friends with them. Ryan is insanely quiet. Like I remember him being like kind of quiet on stage and like board plans and stuff like that. But like when he was around us, he would like, be more extroverted and like talk. But like meeting up with him, not in a business environment, I was like, oh, this guy like is super introverted. Like if he didn't want to, like he didn't want to talk to us at all. Like I could tell.
Wow.
Like he was just like very, but it wasn't like rude. He was just like, he's just not that guy. Noella is very much like the talkative person, but like you could tell like he's just like very standoffish, very introverted. So I understand like why people in his downline specifically don't ever get contacted by him again. Like he's just like, if you serve no purpose, I'm not gonna talk to you. Like he's just very, very introverted. I was like, you're a very different person than I thought. But Noella was just like, she was just saying like off the cuff stuff, and we're just like shooting the shit. And I was just like, in another life, I would have really liked you, but ethically, I know what you're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
Even though it's under the guise of like doing something right. And that's why I'm like, but I do know that they go to like a church now that's very culty. As far as I understand, it's very similar to like the like cult worldwide structure. And I was like, it's gonna look familiar to them. And like Noella never like broke down with me about the like God talk. But then when we met up, that was one of the first things she asked me was like, how's your relationship with God? And I just went like that because I was like, I'm not really gonna get into this. Like our kids are here. My children don't know anything about religion or anything. So I was just like, I'm not gonna get into this right now. But she's like, we're not done with the God talk. So then I was just like, so then she like messaged me a few times about it. And I was just like, I don't like, she's just kind of like pushed the conversation. I was like, I'm open. And I was like, I am super open to talk about it. But it was just like, it was a weird diversion from like me being like, I want to talk about Amway and Worldwide and like our relationship there. And then she was like, no, let's have the God talk. I was like, weird. That's a weird diversion.
Crazy. Yeah. But I could see why. I've got a couple of people in my, well, just say my past life, because it's people I don't talk to anymore, but they have gone down this whole like weird rabbit hole with religion, and I'm like, respectfully, I don't fucking believe in that shit. So thank God I don't, because otherwise
it's comforting. Like I get it. Like I really respect Christians if you're using the word of God correctly. I feel like it's absolutely beautiful. I believe like, the whole thing, like all of Christianity, I believe is like really beautiful if you're using it correctly. Churches, on the other hand, I'm very wary of. I don't necessarily understand like churches that certain people go to can teach different things. It's just, I don't make sense of it in the traditional like biblical sense. I understand God almost as like a higher version of myself. I think that's what Jesus is, though. Isn't that what, like, that's what it's supposed to be, is the ideal man, So it's like when I can think of like scripture, or I can listen to religious things, and I'm just like, Jesus just is a representative of the higher self, and people can take that whatever way they want. I was like, so I'm not like anti-religion. I was like, I get the like moral compass. I get the like teachings and everything. It's just, it's the like abuse of the Bible for your own narrative. And that's what I was trying to explain to Noella the whole time. I was just like, this is how I understand religion. Right. This is how it goes. And it just like, it's not going to translate well to somebody who's like, as religious as they are. And I was just like, it's okay. And I was like, I'm not bashing you. I promise I still get where you're coming from. I just don't believe like in a 6,000-year-old earth and like stuff like that. That's it. Like we're still gonna, I still agree with you on most parts. It's a moral compass. It's not absolute truth. So
That's fair.
but I'm kind of
Totally
going off
fair.
here a little bit, but yeah, that was like
No,
how I was feeling with talking to her.
you're good. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I love that. That's one thing that Megan has actually come on and talked about was the religious manipulation and how that's not actually like different things. I love that. We get that from
Yeah.
Ixia and a few other people who've come on and been like, no, we're still people of faith. We're just not abusive like this, which I absolutely love. And I'm right there with you. I know we're coming towards the end of our time here. I did want to share a little piece of gossip that I had that I'm allowed to share. And that's pretty well known that two of my emeralds, so Ty Rustrum and Michael Haddad, and as far as I know, Leah Haddad, all three of these people are now back to work. Leah and Mike are heavily into their business on Instagram. Like that's what their Instagram like is. All of it's the business that they're working for. Now I don't know if it's their business, a family business, or whatever, but they're like so focused on being back to work and all of these different things. So it's like, how good is this business really if all these different people are now back to work when we went to their retirement parties, which is wild. So I know that we're coming up on our time here. We have been going for almost an hour and a half anyway. So I would love to have you guys back if you guys want to ever come back. But first and foremost, I have to thank you guys. Every single one of you guys. I think every story is important, and your guys' willingness to come here and share and to have a conversation and to continue the conversation is amazing. I would love just one thing from each of you. Just what is something that you think people really need to know or hope that they can take away from, if not this specific episode or your individual stories, but the movement as a whole?
That's a good question. There's a lot. There could be a lot, but my biggest thing is just anybody who's on the fence about coming out with their story, absolutely do it. You can do it however you want to, whatever way you're comfortable with. But whether that's like going on somebody's podcast, going on Danny's podcast, being anonymous, whatever, but your story has to get out there, because the more stories that get out there, the more validity it gives to the movement of, what MLMs are just not okay. And the whole anti-MLM movement, honestly, you have people from all walks of life. And I sound like I'm trying to show the plan here. I am absolutely not. But you have people from the whole political spectrum, the whole religious spectrum, everybody. And so it's not just one-sided as far as all of that goes. There are different people with different belief systems that have all come to the conclusion that these systems are not okay. And so there's a really great community out there. Just know that if you do decide to come out with your story, you are absolutely not alone. It is valid. And don't let anybody talk you out of sharing.
Absolutely.
I know last time I was on, I mentioned trusting your gut. I think I'd still recommend that. I also say that, especially even if you're thinking about leaving, it's always important to have community in different places. So you may be you have your Amway folks you hang out with, and like that may be where you are now. But I think it's also good to build relationships and maintain your existing friendships as well, but also just make time for yourself. Like, what are your hobbies? Just look for things to do, meet new friends, because you always want to have other don't put all your community eggs in one basket, basically. And that's a big thing that I've noticed coming out, is that you really, once you lose that community, you're really left to whatever you have left, and you want to make sure you're investing in all those different places in terms of people, because those are going to be the ones that are there when you do decide to leave. You'll have someone you can talk to, just people that you can really be honest with. And what you have right now in Amway isn't a true community. It's more so just, it's very conditional. They're cool with you until you leave, and then you get shunned. But if you have friends outside of that, that's going to make a world of difference when it comes to leaving a high control group like this and moving back into quote unquote the real world. And that's super important.
Yeah. Yes. All of that. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think the easiest way to explain is don't put your eggs all in one basket and always keep an open mind. That's how I live every day of my life. There's only a few things in this world that I probably am I probably won't change my mind on this. I'm kind of stubborn on it. But I'll still always want to hear opposing beliefs. But when I hear opposing beliefs to like anything that I'm really strong in and I'm really rooted in, I'm like, this actually just strengthened that. So it's like, if you're gonna like listen to like this podcast and you're still in, or you're on the cusp of being out, or you're like freshly out, it's really good to just like always question things and like always keep an open mind. I think about this with politics too. Like, there's a lot of right leaning stuff I agree with, a lot of left leaning stuff I agree with, and sometimes it's like, well, this left leaning idea does not match up at all with other. Like, they have lots of cognitive dissonance in politics. Always question everything, and you'll either come back stronger, or like you're just gonna end up where you are. Like, it's okay to question everything, or you're gonna leave like a toxic situation like Worldwide or Amway. Yeah, keep an open mind always.
Absolutely. I love it. I think everybody here has incredible things to say, and I think you guys all added so much value, and I sound like I'm sharing the plan too. But no, I want to thank everybody so much for your time. And if you guys are out there and you guys want to be like any of the various people who have come on, if you want to be like Meggan or Steven or Hope, and you guys want to come and you guys want to talk, please don't hesitate to email me at DANI@exesandtpodcast.com or DM me on Instagram at exesandt.podcast. Please listen to this episode and any of the others on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Please don't forget to check out Meggan, sorry, she's on this side. Don't forget to check out Meggan at the MLM Recovery Room. And yeah, we will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye, everybody.